So today we'll be talking about moving beyond remote and workplace transformation with Slack. My name is Lotta Mikkonen and I'm a solutions engineer at Slack based out of the Dublin office. And my role of the last few months has been a lot about educating a lot of our customers on digital transformation and helping them with that transformation to a more remote digital headquarters. At Slack, just like everywhere else in the world, we suddenly found ourselves in a remote team. And this was a tweet that was part of a tweet storm from our CEO, Stuart Butterfield, at the beginning of March that talks a little bit about Slack's journey. And when we start to think about what that journey has looked like, it was all a very sudden transition, which took a lot of people off guard. One minute we were being told that this was temporary, just for a couple of weeks. Those weeks stretched into months, and here we are, still working remotely. Now, 18 offices that we had globally are now completely remote across 10 different countries. And we've moved our entire workforce of over 2,000 people to working from home. So this is not something that just Slack has struggled with. As physical offices are no longer facilitating real-time conversations and connections, many organizations are facing pressure to evolve. There's now an increased pressure to adapt and execute quickly. Leaders need to find new ways to keep their organizations and teams aligned and coordinated. And they need to find new ways to ensure employees feel informed and connected to company priorities and goals, even when they are working in this disparate remote working world. And as one of the studies that we performed found that over 40% of today's knowledge workers feel disconnected from their company and misaligned with business objectives. So what does it really mean to adapt to today's reality? Companies might have been slow to adapt digital change and transformation, but now we need to figure out new ways of working. And there's three different elements to this. One is building an open and connected culture to bring together all of the people in your organization. Channels in Slack allow you to encourage openness and more meaningful team engagement. It's easy to openly share ideas, make transparent decisions, and work with a common purpose in place, whether teams are connecting in real time or more frequently, asynchronously. The second part is about allowing everyone to collaborate securely with everyone. We're no longer confined to the bounds of our physical offices, and we don't only collaborate internally. There's also partners and vendors that we need to work with as well. This allows teams to work securely across organizational boundaries. So regardless of whether we're collaborating internally or externally, we need to do that in a secure fashion. And finally, it's important to make sure that we're keeping everyone informed and aligned and bringing the right information from all of the disparate systems that we use day to day to our employees. So we can increase agility by bringing these events and information in real time from any of our systems directly into Slack, allowing your team to quickly engage and respond. Slack's extensibility means you can customize Slack to your needs with third-party integrations or apps built in-house. Today, I'll talk a bit about how channels are uniquely powerful spaces for bringing together all of the people, partners, and systems that you need to get your work done quickly. Channels bring order and clarity to work, and you can create them for each project, topic, or team, meaning that if I need to find out information when I join a new project, I'm no longer being forwarded chains of emails. I can just pop into a channel and see the full history of decisions that were made and all of the latest information on where we are with that project. A few months into the pandemic, we surveyed our customers to understand how they're coping with this shift to remote work. On average, they're finding that they're over 30% more productive due directly to their use of Slack. They also say that they've cut their use of email by 40%, and they're having 21% fewer meetings because of the better teamwork in Slack, helping to decrease video conference fatigue and helping to bring us into more of an asynchronous way of working rather than that kind of always on mentality. We built Slack with the fundamental belief that work is more productive in channels. A big advantage of channels is taking those communications out of those siloed inboxes and making it easier to discover information you need to get your work done. So let's take a look at how teams get value from Slack and some of the innovative capabilities we're announcing to improve how teams connect their people, their partners, and their systems. Our research and conversations with customers over the last few months show that the biggest challenges that employees face include building relationships with colleagues, increased feelings of loneliness or isolation, and not being aware of what others on their teams are working on. This is why having a tool where people engage to build an open culture is so important. So one of the ways that we've been researching this is we've introduced the Future Forum, which is where we're digging into the challenges of digital transformation. This will bring together senior leaders from diverse industries and roles, and this will allow original research in collaboration with leading academic institutions and is an ongoing event series, because as we've all learned over the last few months, things are constantly evolving and changing, so we need to make sure that we're keeping on top of what's working and what's not. The first piece of research from the Future Forum was the Remote Employee Experience Index. And this is now a quarterly report that will provide data and analysis that organizations need to navigate this new world of work. We examined the attitude and experiences of 4,700 knowledge workers who are primarily working remotely. And we found that remote work is a net positive, and there's been boosts in elements such as work-life balance, satisfaction with working arrangements, and managing work-related stress and anxiety. The only element of work which is worsening is that sense of belonging. The majority of knowledge workers don't want to go back to the old way of working. Only 12% want to return to a full-time office work. The majority, around 72%, want a hybrid remote office model moving forward. And this pandemic is providing organizations with a unique opportunity to reinvent how they operate, retaining the best parts of office culture while freeing themselves from bad habits and inefficient processes. Slack is committed to offering a platform that enables organizations to adapt and thrive in a distributed work environment. So, as we mentioned, remote work has created challenges for everyone, not just us, and we're feeling this increased pressure. So now we're, again, needing that alignment and coordination more than ever for our teams. And we need to make sure that we're keeping that connectedness and engagement. But how can we do that when we are all remote? We found with our customers that, not surprisingly, that we saw a real increase in engagement from when the shift to remote work happened. So when we start to look at the number of messages sent per user and the average time that a user is spending connected in Slack, these were up by around 20%. And new users joining Slack workspaces were also up by around 20%, just in the space of a couple of weeks. So clearly, more teams than ever are relying on Slack than ever before to keep connected as they move to this remote way of working. And as we watched this happening in our own customer base, we were also going through our own internal journey to make sure that our employees were feeling that sense of engagement. And unsurprisingly, at Slack, we do use Slack for pretty much everything we do inside the company. And even prior to this full shift to remote work, we were also embracing things like work from home. Now, especially at this time, this channel-based communication in Slack has become really important in helping us to organize information and conversations in a way that keeps that sense of belonging and brings people together. And we no longer have these ad hoc conversations in the office, so it can be difficult to have transparency over the conversations that are happening. But by having this information presented in channel, that's really helping with this alignment. And these channels are created about pretty much everything, and they can be a really great way to do a quick straw poll to understand what your employees are feeling. So for example, we created brand new channels such as remote best practices, where we could share with our colleagues what was working for us, or ask questions on how we could make this remote shift work even better for us. And we started seeing people joining, finding this information through the power of search, meaning that it was really easy for anyone to get involved in these conversations. We can stay in sync in one single place and make sure that everyone is aligned on company priorities. Now, again, when we think about engagement, once we had started kind of transitioning really quickly into this new way of working, we needed to figure out how can we engage and align our teams. So we started to define what the future of work would look like. So this has actually been a huge accelerant. So we started getting input from our colleagues on how we could actually start to improve various elements of the business. And this really helped to transform the way that we work and bring about all of these new changes in a way that all of our employees were able to have a say in how they progressed. And the idea around the Slack on Slack program was fostering that innovation on our own platform. So how do we use the power of Slack to help us as a company move faster to achieve our business goals? Create a much more productive experience for our employees? Or when we hire a salesperson, we want them to spend time selling and not just kind of trying to get on board. And when we think about that onboarding experience, that becomes more challenging than ever before in a fully remote world. We wanted to get our developers up and running as quickly as possible so they could start working on code and creating product and being as productive as possible. So we started to build more intelligent automation, such as bots, apps, and workflows in the Slack platform. And this was really helping to get engagement from our employees because they were able to tell us what were the blockers in their world and how could we start to actually bring new efficiencies into those workflows. And Slack isn't the only company using Slack for its company culture. HubSpot are an inbound marketing and sales software company that regularly tops best places to work lists and attracts new talent in droves. They've invested heavily in a workplace culture, so much so that the Cambridge, Massachusetts-based company spells out its values in a 128-slide presentation, which you can actually find on SlideShare, and I definitely recommend looking into if you're interested in kind of thinking about company culture on a broader scale. They have a number of different initiatives directly within Slack, and one of these is an onboarding bot. So when a new hire joins at HubSpot, they're guided towards resources that they need to help to drive them through that onboarding journey, making sure that they continue to be engaged and are giving the resources that they need automatically to help guide them through that journey. They've also got different kinds of initiatives, such as a buddy initiative, so you can meet people from different parts of the organization, understand how they work, and they also do regular pulse surveys within Slack, so people can quickly and easily provide feedback on what's working and what's not. The next focus area for us is the critical work that happens across companies. So in an increasingly interconnected world, email is no longer the best way to collaborate with partners, vendors, or customers. Now, in addition to the challenge of keeping work siloed in personal inboxes, there's also a security element to consider. With more people working remotely, phishing attacks are on the rise over the last 8 months. In June, we launched Slack Connect, which extends channel-based messaging to everyone you work with, both inside and outside your organization. Slack Connect replaces email, so you can securely work alongside people from other companies in the exact same place as you do internally, without all of this back and forth or dispersed communication. This is an example of what it would look like. The two organizations would allow this channel to exist in both of their workspaces, and seamlessly it would fit into their normal work streams, meaning that they're not having to switch between multiple applications or multiple different tools in order to have these conversations. Now, some of the examples of how organizations are getting value out of Slack Connect today include having their customer success teams working with their customers in a very close way. So that's actually one of the ways that we at Slack also collaborate with our customers. We would have shared channels where we can share resources or answer questions as they arise. For marketing, for example, teams can work faster with their agency partners. So when we start to think about, for example, advertising campaigns, chances are that marketers will also need to work with external agencies, or when planning events, there's also a number of different vendors to work with. So by bringing all of these people into one single channel, we can really start to streamline that decision-making process and manage our projects faster. This can also be a fantastic way for operations to work with vendors and suppliers. So if we take your IT team, for example, they might be working with a number of different vendors for hardware, for software, and this can really help to break down those barriers and make it quicker to make those decisions and get feedback when needed. And again, just as Slack makes work faster internally in your organization, Slack Connect can speed up your external work in the same way. And we can also then start to direct message these individuals if we need those one-to-one conversations with these external parties. And again, it's really important, especially now, more than ever, that we put effort and thought into ensuring that our data is secure and compliant. And when we think about working externally, most organizations today still revert to email, which was designed 50 years ago, which can lead to exposing your organization to risk and phishing. And I'm sure at one point or another, you've probably seen a breach in email at your organization through one of these scams. There's also a chance that when we're working externally and we're not able to use the tools that we would like to with our partners, then unsanctioned tools might come into play. We could potentially be using WhatsApp with our sales team to discuss important contractual information with customers, or text messages to talk about potential partnerships. All of this potentially leaking data out of your organization because it's no longer centrally governed by your IT or security teams. And by using Slack Connect, you're able to lock down that external collaboration in exactly the same way as you would your internal collaboration, and it would respect all of the rules that you have set in place for your data. One of the examples of how these Slack Connect channels are being used is with our customer Fastly. And they actually use Slack Connect as a monetary exercise by providing a premium support to their customers, allowing them to quickly and easily provide top-notch customer service to their customers. Now, the last focus area for today is about bringing together the systems that you use into one place. So allowing your team to collaborate and respond in real time, regardless of what tools they use as part of their day-to-day job. This allows you to quickly take action. So for example, if a lead is created, we could push a notification into channel so our sales team can quickly and effectively follow up. If we need to have a discount approved as part of that sales process, top leadership can, with the click of a button, just press approve, and that can then save a lot of back and forth that might have happened in emails previously. Today's enterprises need to be more responsive to events. Real-time, agile businesses are the ones who win. And Slack is that engagement layer for the event-driven enterprise, allowing teams to quickly respond in real time to keep work moving forward. The way that we're going to be looking at this today is through transforming your developer operations with Slack. So we'll today look at how we can improve service reliability, but similar kinds of workflows could be put into place for any team at your organization, whether it's sales, HR, or your management team. Now, when we start to think about incident management as a process, quite often there will be a number of different elements and a number of different tools being used. What we want to do is bring all of these tools together to really make those workflows more efficient. So for example, in this image, what we're seeing is a ticket coming from ServiceNow. And with this custom message, we've also created actions. So I could, with the click of a button, create a brand new ticket within Jira, or take action such as assigning this to a specific individual without having to context switch and lose valuable time in the case of a potentially costly incident. Now, when we start to think about incidents, quite often they're pretty chaotic. You might be relying on specific org structure, defined groups, and that can be a challenge. It can be really hard to get everyone onto the same page when you're using tools like email, but what we want to do is have a very flexible channels and architecture to help to manage these incidents. So when we think about kind of the traditional incident, you might be jumping onto a video conferencing tool to start to kind of triage that incident, meaning that anyone jumping into that conversation is starting from zero and will have to repeat potentially the same information again and again. We might be working in a number of different tools. So we might have our tickets in Jira, we might have our conversations happening in email, but also through WhatsApp, meaning that trying to actually figure out what's going on at any given point in time requires us to try and figure out this information. People might be left out of those email threads, meaning that, again, it takes a lot longer for everyone to get up to speed. And finally, because we have this information in all these disparate tools, when it comes time to figure out, well, what actually went wrong, putting together that full picture for our postmortem can be quite challenging and take a lot of time. So how can we use Slack to help? Well, by bringing all of this information and these processes directly into channels, we can then start to have faster response and problem identification. By bringing the correct team members into this channel, we can reduce the mean time to restore for major incidents because people can get up to speed quickly and view all of the information from our various tools. Because all of this information is in channel, we can have faster and more accurate incident reviews almost instantaneously. Here's an example of a Slack channel that was used for an incident. When this incident arose, we automatically created a brand new channel for it, so all the information could be contained within. We were able to add the relevant team members to this channel, and management were able to quickly and easily see what the current status is, and customer experience could also view the latest steps so they could communicate that to their customers when tickets were coming in. We automatically created a Zoom bridge here where people could pop in and to have that conversation and kind of figure out what's going on right now, while still being able to view information in channel on the latest resources on how to actually tackle this incident. They could see what are the latest status from various tools like PagerDuty. They could take action, as well as review graphs to understand, well, what stage are we at in this specific incident? Now, just to kind of talk about some of the stats that we've seen from our customers. So we have our new Total Economic Impact report from Forrester, and they found that Slack improves velocity and accuracy across the software development lifecycle. And our customers have seen an average 17% reduction in time to detect incidents and a 19% reduction in time to actually resolve them. Vodafone are one of our customers who have used Slack extensively for their incident management process. And they are one of the largest telcos in the world. So of course, incidents can have a massive impact for them. They've used tools such as PagerDuty, so notifications automatically go to the right individual. Their business leaders have visibility into what's happening at any point in time. And they found that their mean time to resolution reduced from 15 to 20 minutes to less than 5, which for an organization such as Vodafone is absolutely huge. So now we've seen kind of how Slack can help with that incident management process, but what we've also seen from our developer and technology teams is that tools such as Slack can help to keep talent productive and engaged. And a recent McKinsey study showed that developer satisfaction and retention rates are 47% higher for companies that give their devs access to relevant tools for each stage of the software lifecycle. So that's quite a lot of information to share, but hopefully I've inspired you a little bit on some of the steps that you could take to help to really transform the way that you are thinking about remote work. And Slack, just like every other company, is continuing to learn from all of the changes in the world. And this is really a fantastic time for us, if we have been thinking about this digital transformation journey, to really help us to become the kinds of digital businesses that we wanted to be. That is it from me. So if there's any questions, feel free to ask them into the chat. Oh, there we go. Sorry, I see a couple of questions there. So Deirdre asked, is Slack just for single company communications? i.e. can outsource project teams join in the channels? So that's a fantastic question. There's two different ways that you can collaborate with your external collaborators. One is to use our guest functionality, which allows guests to log into that channel without having a Slack instance. Or if you are working with, let's say, another company who are also Slack customers, then you could create one of those Slack Connect channels to be able to collaborate across the two organizations. And another question was, can we sign up without email? So at the moment, you would require an email address if you wish to create your own Slack team. Perfect. So if there's no other questions, feel free to pop by our booth in the expo hall, or if there's anything else that you'd like to discuss in a bit more detail from our session today, feel free to reach out on LinkedIn as well. Thanks very much.